Name a person who inspires you.
Many, but I think today I choose to, given who the show is for, maybe my father.
Funniest task that's been encountered by a chatbot.
God, there are so many. There have been many instances when people thought the chatbot was actually a human and it was a female human. Asked the person out.
What would your choice be, mobile chats or real conversations?
Or real conversations.
What, in your opinion, are the future essentials? Artificial intelligence or human skills?
Human skills.
One aspect of life that AI can't replicate.
Emotion, yet.
Do you think it's possible for computers to achieve consciousness?
Yes, absolutely.
At what age do you plan to retire?
Hopefully never.
Hi, welcome again to the Make You Happen show. In this episode, we have Aakrit Vaish for you. Aakrit has been a co-founder along with Swapan Rajdev in his company Haptic. And Haptic, as many of you might know, is known as one of the largest AI companies in its space today. Haptic was recently acquired by Reliance Jio, and we are very, very delighted that Aakrit is here today. Welcome, Aakrit.
Thank you for having me. Yeah. Happy to be here.
So, Aakrit, when one speaks of Haptic, it's been most known for being, one of the most downloaded apps in India, and it was really a personal assistant app that most people know Haptic as. And in the last 6 years, you've really moved a long way. You're known in B2B space to be among the largest AI companies in the chatbot space. So this is quite amazing. Can you share a little bit about this journey with our viewers?
Any startup, or for that matter, any business, whether it's technology or not technology, in the initial years goes through its fair shares of ups and downs. What's really important is to, and I know a lot of this might sound cliched, but what's really important is to just be resilient and hang in there. So I think for us also, we started with a vision or rather a product idea, which was, hey, look, can people simply chat and get help on anything? So the idea was, can this be like your Jarvis, or can this be literally your Alfred, which can be your personal assistant, concierge, butler, simply a message away. Send a message saying, hey, I want to book a flight. The bot responds back. Send a message saying, tell me the weather. And the bot is able to respond back. And we invested a fair bit of time, energy, in money, little bit of our own, most of other investors. That's when, to your point, Haptic became known at large in general, right? So I think the name Haptic or the brand name Haptic is fairly synonymous because there were a fair bit of people who used the app. I think we had about 10 million odd total downloads, out of which, million people use it fairly actively. But we came to some sort of a crossroads at a point in our journey where we realized that there's enough people who like it, but not enough people who love it. I heard this famous saying one day that make something that 100 people love, not 1,000 people kind of like. And in our case, what happened is we had all these millions of people who kind of liked it, but often when I would ask the question that, listen, if this was not to be in your life, how much would it be impacted? The answers were not so much, right? It was like a good to have. And that also made it hard to make money off of this discovery process and realizing how do we scale, how do we make money. In parallel, we actually got a lot of enterprises and brands reach out to us saying that, hey, look, I've used your app. Can you take the same technology and apply it for my company? We got our first 10 or 12 orders without like only me selling without, and just one other salesperson without much effort. We saw a trend where more and more companies wanted this as software, wanted this as a solution, and many other such needs emerged. This was 2.5 years back when we made this pivot. Fast forward to today, it's completely, a B2B software company.
Aakrit, I have heard that there have been really highs and lows that you and Swapna have gone through. Can you throw some light on that?
I think let me share 2-3 highs and 2-3 really lows, right? I think one of the really low lows was in a tech company like ours or in a tech startup, right? The entire business is built on the premise that you'll be able to raise a bunch of external money, invest into product building, and then eventually sort of generate revenue on. During that second round of investment, I started pitching to investors in about March, and then by July, right, in about 4 months, we would have pitched and met about 100 investors. I remember meeting 2 investors who we met about 7 times each. And typically, if you meet any 1 or 2 investors so many times, your expectation is that most likely the deal will come through. In October of that year, which is 3 months from then, we're about to run out of money. The low point comes hence, which is this one investor who we met 7 times on a Friday basically told us that, look, all looks good. Everything looks okay. I got everything reviewed by my entire team. We should be able to move ahead. Let me just do some internal checks and come back to you by early next week. So, we very excited, very happy, had a great weekend. Saturday, Sunday passes. And, with investors, often then after that, waiting for the call is like waiting for your girlfriend or boyfriend, right? In the millennial parlance, to reach out, checking your phone, network barabar hai ki nahi, right? So, Monday happened, no call. Tuesday happened, no call. And then you're fretting, boss, what's going to happen? I was traveling for another meeting and pitch to another investor. And the moment I was entering the building and I'm walking through, I get a call. I'm 5 minutes away from walking into this pitch. And he basically says they can't do it. At that point, when I hung up the call, I was basically shattered. It was 2 minutes away from walking into the next pitch meeting. I actually sat down on the steps and I was just sort of thinking कि अभी that your entire life starts rolling back. अब क्या करूँगा life में? अभी क्या plan है? अच्छा ये भी कर सकते हैं. You're thinking about, you have about 100 odd people that time in the company. What will we do with them? How will it go? All of that. Obviously, the next pitch I walked into was terrible and I completely bombed it. They didn't even call back once. Again, let's say rest is history. 2 weeks later, we ran into somebody who became our investors for that next round. That's maybe one. Many more, but that whenever that comes to mind is one of the few ones where it really felt like near death moment. Well, beyond near death, in the way it happened, right? In the way that it played out, and that moment sitting on those steps of that Bangalore office did feel like, okay, look, this was really low.
Share with us one of your high moments.
One of the high moments has to be Reliance investment opportunity came together. Where when this was happening last year, before this was happening, we were similarly going through some challenges as a business, still trying to figure it out. Not as bad as previous years, but we were still figuring some challenges out. We've read stories and these things where people say my life changed overnight, where I walked into something and next morning I woke up and I was somebody else. That's what happened with us. We walked in to meet them on, I think, a Wednesday. And on a Saturday evening, we shook hands on a deal.
Wow.
So that was really definitely by far the highest moment, the way that came together. But you know what? Whenever somebody asks me about the highs, hopefully the best one is yet to come.
I also believe that you put in all your money, you and Swapan, and including borrowings, and you want to share something about that actually?
See, all money is very subjective, which means that thankfully we don't have to sell our house or compromise on our lifestyle. But yeah, whatever savings we had, we invested into the business, and back to that second round of investment, that phase, because the investment took a long time. Temporarily, we did have to borrow from friends and family to make sure that we're meeting payroll, we're surviving through some cycles. There was at one point where all our credit cards were maxed out as well, because again, and the thing is, it wasn't as bad as it sounds because we knew the investment is coming, right? So it was only a matter of time. But yeah, it was that transition period. All our savings was mostly in it, and yeah, during a certain period for working capital needs, we had to borrow as well as max out some credit limits. Um, mm, you know, uh, Thankfully, we made it past and we were able to return all the money back.
What do you think sustained the journey so much? What was it that was actually driving you?
Two parts maybe to that answer. One is what motivated me to first be an entrepreneur. I think the answer to that question is goes back to my roots as from where I come in terms of family and my upbringing, where because my father had always done a business, my grandfather had always done a business, business family type situation. The idea of not doing a business was very alien to me. So I think because of that ingrained desire, that just came naturally. Ki one day we'll run our business. The second part of the answer to the question, which is what kept us going or what kept me going. And here I've thought about this a lot. A lot of people consistently say that um, it's okay to fail and accept failure and move on, right? I feel particularly amongst the younger entrepreneurs, I'm not too old, but I'm saying even younger than me, this has been taken to almost another level where it is really okay to fail. Right, where you take unnecessary risks at some point where you're like, worst case we'll fail, and they actually end up failing. I think in my case, I don't know from where, and even till today, there's this every morning when I wake up or every few months, there is this inherent fear of failing. And every single day, what keeps me going is that kuch bhi ho jaye, I'm not going to fail. So whereas it's okay to fail and take those risks, and we are taking crazy risks on a day-to-day basis, like doing stupid things like when we were borrowing money and maxing out cards. But the greater belief was I'm not going to fail, and that is an unacceptable outcome for me. So it's that balance and how do you maintain that, and honestly, that's what keeps me going, which is that no matter what happens, that's almost like dying. Like I don't want to get to that stage.
So it sounds like you make a distinction between, if I may call, hurdles and failures, right? The things that you see as hurdles, you're okay with and okay with dealing with them, etc., etc. But failure is like your backstop, like you won't let that happen.
Yeah, before I see that is coming, I'll make a change. I'll do something different to make sure that doesn't happen. Now, I don't know if this is, look, retrospectively, I don't know if this is the right philosophy. Like maybe it's better to fail sooner and then get up and do something else. I don't know. Worked out for me, I think. I think it's been okay for me so far in the sense that this philosophy. But yeah, before I see that something's going to go wrong, I'll course correct and
in this journeys of ups and downs, while you look back now and everything looks hunky-dory, I'm sure every fall, you're able to come back up, be positive again, face the employees again. So how do you kind of manage all this? What are there some things do you do to bring your positivity back?
Great question. I don't think there is any one size fits all magic formula. I think that each person, to each its own. I think a lot of founders amongst us keep talking about this aspect, right? That how do you maintain positivity? How do you sort of come back up? Like I said, I think every person has their own style. I'll tell you mine. I think for me, it is nothing very extravagant except just switching off. And the switching off happens through very basic things, which is one is spending time with family, spending a lot of time, and just switching off with friends. That helps me. The fact that my life outside of work is so different. Maybe the person also I'm outside of work is just so different compared to the person I'm at work. That helps me stay grounded, helps me stay humble, helps me obviously take time off and not have to think about it, spring back up. I love traveling. Again, not a cliche. I genuinely do. That's like my favorite thing to do. I think I was telling you that for the work that I do and for the amount of stress that I have and for the amount of work that I have, I still was able to take. I took 29 nights out last year. I do one trip in a year, which is a switch off trip. So phones off, laptops off, all of that. So those are some ways in which you keep yourself sane.
So you'd mentioned, about a few people in the family that have been a great support for you through this whole journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you like to speak about that?
Yeah, I think I definitely undervalued the concept and notion of family. I think it was all about, yeah, it's cool, they're there, but you know, what's the how do beyond just being there and of course being loving each other, what more does family bring to you, right? I think you realize that a lot in the later stages of your life. My parents have always been entirely supportive, not even question once. In fact, even in the darkest days, they would never come up and ask what's happening, or why is it not working, or even the once I don't think when my parents would have mentioned, "Are you sure you want to do this?" Never ever. I think it's always been, you know what you're doing. If ever you think that you are not doing something correctly, come to us. We're always here to help and help out. So in that sense, I think sometimes not being supportive is equally being supportive. In fact, sometimes more, right? So just the fact that they were out of it, and it was almost like whenever I needed something, they would be there and left me alone. I think really helped in our case, in my case. My wife, who actually I met for the first time when we started Haptic. So I met her 3 months after we started Haptic. So she followed. She's kind of been through the entire journey. Again, been super amazing and supportive.
Current times, businesses have to be that kind of agile and flexible, depending on the changing needs. So, question I would ask is that you always had large teams, even when you changed. So, how easy or difficult it was really to change? It's easy to say that the market needed this, so we need. It's basically organization changing. I think at some stage you were like 300, 400 people, and then
Came back down and came back up. Yeah. So it's obviously not easy. Also, I categorically say this in every forum, whether it is with my team directly or in public, that I'm the worst manager you'll ever come across, because I don't know how to manage people. I think the one thing I do well, I think at least, is lead and lead by example. To answer your question more specifically is how do you change or what's easy or hard? So, one of the things, and I feel like, I don't know why people don't do it, and I'm sure there are reasons for this, but for us, from day one, we've been an extremely honest and transparent organization. Again, a lot of cliches, right? A lot of people say we are honest, we are transparent. But I genuinely think that is the very core fundamentals of who we are as people, where day to day, today morning, in fact, I was having a chat with somebody and I was talking to this person and I was saying, ki, boss, तू मुझको आके कल कुछ भी बोल कि I don't like you, I don't like haptic, I don't like your working style, I don't like your managerial style. I'm okay with all of that. But till date in my life, I've never had a situation where anybody can come to me and say, you've not been fair to me. And that we take great pride in. And that goes a long way in setting up your organization, right? So I think because of that, even when we were changing, because people saw the honesty and transparency with which we were changing, people sort of moved along, right?
So that's a great answer, actually. In fact, the whole generation will have to move like that anyway. So, so you're actually helping them do that.
Yeah, also gone are those days where, the whole world is about, we're sitting right now, we are open offices. The whole world is about, the days of like calling somebody boss or sir. All of that is completely gone, right? The new way of working is flat structures, flat, honest, transparent structures. And back to millennial generation, honestly, and I would say, I'm just missed the cut by a little bit, but most of this generation, a large part of why you come to work is not to make money. A large part of why you come to work is to learn, create impact, have fun, and work with people who you can really create something with. And which is where a lot of these things matter a lot more than anything else.
You're already looked upon as a hero, and a lot of people, a lot of millennials I know look upon you a lot. So coming to millennials, do you have a message for millennials?
Yeah, this is like doing a one-on-one session at work with one of our team members. There is paper advice or bookish advice is, I'm not a big fan of that, but the only thing that I keep telling people is that I think don't expect amazing things will happen to you. It takes a lot of hard work, but it takes more than what even you would expect. And I think that's the hard way I learned. When I started, I felt that I was entitled for greatness. Within 3 years, all of that went away because humility struck and realized that I'm not good enough, and then recovered. And it took a lot of hard work and just core fundamentals of doing things the right way to get it done. So I think when we're starting out, either at work or in personal life, just know that it takes a lot of honest hard work to get anywhere. Cliche, but unfortunately, that's why they are cliches, right? They all prove true over a period of life.
Super.
Yeah.
Aakrit, it's been really lovely to have you on the show.
No, thank you so much. Thanks a lot. It's been fun.
To commemorate this, I do have a few things to present to you.
Okay. Do you have a coffee hamper? No. Okay.
Not so easy, not so cliched.
Right.
So I wrote a book called Jasmine Builds on Shifting Sands.
Excellent.
This is about a young girl who becomes a fashionista, and in her journey goes through all the ups and downs that typically you also spoke about, and a lot of achievers speak about. So the story actually brings out, how do you actually cope with all these. Now I'm going to present this book to you, but before I do that, I have a little poem written for you. To Aakrit, the influencer. Aakrit is the one who has been given shape. That's the meaning of Aakrit. Aakrit is the one who's been given shape. With such a personality innate, Aakrit stakes his traits, estates, and shapes his realms of people, customers, business, and domains, shaping their destiny. Like a craftsmith, Aakrit tools and sculpts a shape that blends with the needs of the world of business success, and discovers and reflects how he has been shaped by his own venture and quest.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That is so sweet. I will definitely show this to my entire team and say this is how you should greet me also every day.
And this is actually a graphic version of the same book.
Amazing. Great.
And lastly, here's a
Oh, wow.
sketch for you.
That's great. Thanks so much. This looks really nice. Thank you so much. This is amazing.
you're
Thanks a lot.
welcome.
This is very sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, once again, thank
No,
you so
absolutely.
much.
Thank you so much. This is very sweet. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it, and
Yeah.
a lot of fun, and happy to help any way I can.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks,
Thanks for being on the show.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Yeah.